Okay, if I'm being completely honest, this is kind of a silly project for me to be doing. Because today, I'm going to be making my ultimate Dungeon Master screen. But this won't be no ordinary DM screen, because mine is going to have a built-in monitor so I can truly immerse my players, unlike any other DM screen ever made before. Okay, that's a lie. Several people have already done this. The reason I'm doing this is because I saw someone do it on TikTok. There's even really well-made videos telling people how they can make it themselves. I'm literally going to be referencing it for this project. But to truly make this my dream DM screen, I'm going to be decorating it to make it look like it is actually a magical elven portal. The reason why it's silly for me to be doing this project is because I'm not a DM. Like, at all. I ran like one shot like 5 years ago, and it was honestly kind of terrifying. But maybe if I have this really cool DM screen, then I'll want to do it more. At least that's how I'm justifying this in my head. Like, yeah, I already have the DM screen that comes with the book set that's like extremely well designed and practical and portable and has tons of information, but I can't like watch Shrek 2 on it, so what's the point? Alright, so this technically is like an electronics-based project, though I don't think it's actually going to be that complicated. Unlike the last time I tried to use electronics in my project and thought, oh, how hard could it be to learn how to program, and then turns out it was very hard. For this one, luckily we live in the age where you can just buy a really small portable monitor on Amazon for like, I don't know, 60 bucks? I think this one was on sale. There are a lot of little portable monitors like this on Amazon, and they're designed to be really thin and portable, and really easy to use because all you need is a USB-C to power and also display from your laptop. So right out of the box, you can already start displaying stuff on it. So no other electronics necessary. I'm basically just making a frame to hold this monitor that so happens to also be a Dungeon Master screen. Sounds like a good enough plan to me. Let's get working on it. Alright, first step is that we have to get all the measurements so we can make sure that the screen actually fits inside while still being able to access all of the buttons and also input ports. I'll be using a right angle USB adapter, which was suggested by Powerwood Spill. I need to give credit because I didn't even know that these things existed. Okay, I got all my measurements, so I'm actually going to go to the computer to make a technical drawing / template thing. You could also technically draw out all these measurements, but I do not trust myself, which is why I went to Illustrator, where I can just input all my measurements and then print out a template for me to use. At this point, I test to make sure that it fits and also make any adjustments that are needed. Alright, now that I have my template, the base is going to be made out of this board that I got from Home Depot. It is 6mm birch marked board. I chose this wood because it would give it a nice sturdy base, but also because I didn't care what it looked like. Like, I'm not trying to make a wormwood DM screen or anything like that. It's going to be all covered with like foam and stuff on the outside, so doesn't particularly matter what the core looks like. So originally I thought this would be thin enough where I could still use a box cutter to cut it. Very quickly realized that was not the case. So I went out and bought myself a little tiny handsaw, which did work, you know, to an extent. I understand why we invented power tools. This sucks. I mean, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, I can sand down the edges and stuff like that, so I'm sure it'll be fine. How do I do the inside bit? How do I cut that out? I guess I just gotta start from the outside. God dang it. I need to invest in a laser cutter or something, my god. It genuinely did not occur to me that I can't just like turn the saw. I have to go in a straight line. Look, this is my first time doing anything close to woodworking. I should have realized this earlier, but I just didn't. Alright, so I think I need to do a little bit of a change of plans because this is not good. Is this wormwood quality right here? The way that this is going now, I might be able to use it, but it's going to involve so much gluing and sanding that it's probably just going to take way longer than it needs to be. So I'm just going back to old reliable of dollar store foam board. Admittedly, not the best quality material, but it is easy to work with, and I think I have a plan that should work out. Okay, so I have my foam board. these two pieces are going to be glued together, and this is what's going to hold the monitor in the screen. But the problem with foam board is that it's like very easily dentable, and also it just doesn't look the best or very professional. So my solution to that is having the 3mm wood board cut out as the outer frame. So we put these together. You can't even tell that it's mostly made out of foam. Now with the wooden frame, it's a lot more sturdy and also looks better on the outside. And it won't even matter that it's choppy foam on the inside. I mean, after all, this is a YouTube project. It doesn't matter what's on the inside. Just the outside needs to look good for a 15 to 30 second reveal montage at the end. Now, for the back cover, the easiest thing to do would probably be just to take another board and glue it down. But the problem with that is that would enclose the monitor into the screen forever. Even though this whole DM screen is going to be built around it, I would like it if the monitor could be removable. Because realistically, based on how many times my friends have been able to get together and actually play D&D, this thing's not going to be used more than once a month maybe. So personally, I would like to have an extra monitor just available to me and not only used once a month. So I need a way to attach it that isn't too bulky, because I would still like this to be able to like fold in on itself, so it can't like get in the way of the hinges. It needs to be easy, because if it's not, I'll never use it. So I think the best thing to use is actually going to just be magnets. I used magnets for the back paneling of my Grumbot project, and it actually worked surprisingly well. So I cut out 4 holes in the top foam layer to hold the magnets, as well as added another layer of cardstock to help protect the foam. The thickness of the magnets worked on this side, but I need something thinner and less bulky to put on the other side. Luckily, I had just the thing in my IKEA spare parts bag, which was 4 washers. So I'm going to take this little washer, I'm just going to super glue it on and hope for the best. Okay, now it's time to see if it's actually strong enough to hold the monitor in place. Okay, flip it up. Yeah, it's actually holding. It's not balanced right now because it doesn't have the little like folds, but it's holding. Okay, cool. We actually almost have the base of the DM screen. I'm just going to finish the edges and then add the little folds real quick, and the base of the DM screen should be done. And by finish the sides, I mean sand and just fill in any gaps with foam clay. Is there better filler out there? Yeah, probably. But as you have probably figured out by now, I am no professional. I am simply but a DIYer who has a camera and the audacity to share their process on the internet. For the back cover, as well as cutting out holes so I can get to the inputs and switches, I cut out a rectangle of each corner and glued it down to the main base. This way I can attach the hinges while also keeping everything level with the back cover. Before attaching everything, I did give everything a nice base coat of primer. Even if you can't see it from the outside, it'll make the inside look a lot nicer. And here we have an actually working DM screen. Admittedly, very scuffed, but working. You know, with the just spray painted and not properly finished wood outside and literal screws sticking out of it. But what it looks like right now isn't important. What's important is the fact that I can now hook this up once I plug this in. Oh, there it goes. Behold, you can now put Lo-Fi Girl on a DM screen. What a time to be alive. Suddenly you're not looking at all the unfinished details, you're just looking at Lo-Fi Girl. Okay, now imagine you are actually using this to display like, oh wait, real quick Kroger ad, hold on. Now you could be describing a scene in front of you and you can just pull it up, like if you're on like a pirate adventure. Wow, would you look at that? I'm so immersed right now. You can display maps so you can show exactly where your players are on their journey, and they can stop asking you, are we there yet, after every single encounter. And at this point, I must assume you must be asking, where in the world did you find a cool interactive map like that? What sorcery is this? Well, how convenient that you so happen to be hypothetically thinking that question right about now, because this map so happens to be made using the sponsor of today's video, which is World Anvil. If you've made it this far in the video, chances are is that you're a huge RPG nerd who loves to create worlds for their friends to explore. With World Anvil's powerful tools, you're able to keep track of every single detail about your world as you're building it. From intricate timelines, family trees, and your world's faction alliances and different nations. Create custom wiki-like articles or nestable interactive maps that you can share with your players while also keeping some DM secrets to yourself. With tools like the digital DM screen or the campaign manager that supports a wide variety of game systems, keep track of everything that you need while you're running your campaign. Even the name and stats of that random NPC that you made up on the spot that your party just now absolutely loves for some reason and won't let go of. Players can keep track of their inventory, their spells, their notes, all in one tab. And don't worry, they also have a spot to write their edgy traumatic backstory as well. You can sign up for World Anvil for free, and once you're ready to unlock all of its features, use the code JUSTLESS for 51% off any of their annual plans. Thank you once again to World Anvil for being the perfect sponsor for this video, and let's go ahead and get back to making our DM screen. I mean, technically speaking, if you actually did a proper finish and didn't have nails sticking out of it, this definitely could be a fine DM screen. It would have this cool feature to it, but still be pretty simple and very versatile, easy to travel with. Mindful and demure, I think the kids would call it. Too bad that's not my goal, because I am extra and impractical. So basically, now that I have a working base, I'm going to be decorating it on the outside to look like a fantasy magical portal. Because that way, as a DM, it kind of feels more like you're controlling this mystical portal into another universe rather than just a random screen and a piece of wood. I guess players could imagine it. Most of D&D is just your imagination, but gosh darn it, I want the whimsy. So the general design that I want to go for is sort of ruined portal forest elven vibes, I suppose. Though saying that out loud just sounds like one of my Spotify day lists. And to be doing that, I'm going to try and make it out of XPS foam. It's essentially like a really dense foam that's supposedly really good for creating structures and detailed. I mean, yeah, I've never used it before, but I've watched Martina use it in her videos plenty of times, so I'm probably basically an expert. Well, I guess there's only one way to actually find out, I suppose, and that's to get started. Alright, I got done with one little pillar that's kind of like a proof of concept, and it's not too bad. It's not perfect, there's some uneven cuts and rough spots, but this is supposed to be a ruined portal, and anything that is off or crumbling, that's just part of the lore, baby. For the most part, I don't really have too much of a process for this. I just break down the design to the most basic shapes possible, and then I start building it up and start adding beveled edges to try and make it seem a little bit more interesting, add a little bit more depth. You ever think something's going pretty good and then you take a step back and you're like, something's kind of off. Tell me how I can go through the extra effort of making a to-scale outline of my design so I could know for sure when I was cutting it out and still end up with it so incredibly uneven. This piece, I mean, visually it doesn't look like it, but this side is like an inch longer than this side. I mean, luckily I haven't glued anything down yet, but I do have to figure out how to fix this. That's the other good thing about working with foam, of if you mess up, it's not normally a huge deal because it's pretty cheap material, pretty forgiving, so you can just redo it. lot of foam cutting so far, but I think that's actually starting to look pretty good. I mean, it's just a bunch of mishmash foam right now and doesn't have any of the final texture or coloring or final details and stuff like that, but you can see my vision, right? It is weird just having a DM screen with a hole in it though. It's now time to move on to the side flaps. Flaps doesn't sound good. Panels. Panels is the word that I meant to say. The side panels, which is just going to be arguably more foam cutting.
Diamond on the front, I actually want to add a gem there. So I hopped into Blender and quickly 3D modeled a gem, which I could then 3D print out of red translucent resin, so it actually matched my D&D handbook. Yep, that's why I made this decision. Totally not because it's the only resin I have right now and don't want to buy more until I use this up. Nope, it's just an intentional design choice, I swear. And with that, everything is in place for our portal. Now it's time to prep it for painting so we can turn this foam to stone. First layer is a mixture of Mod Podge and a couple of tablespoons of baking soda. That way we can protect the foam while also giving it a little bit more of a grainy texture. Which is especially good for those flat areas that didn't have any texturing beforehand. And then I cover everything with a watered down gray acrylic. Before, after. Before, after. It looks so much better.
I am feeling so much more confident about this design now that it's all one color. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little iffy on how it was going to turn out, but it's starting to come together, I think, now that it's not just all a bunch of just random foam. Even though it is the right color and kind of textured, it still looks really flat right now. So to really bring this to the next level, we're going to add some shadows and highlights. Both these steps are pretty easy, but will have like a really big effect. So to add shadows, we're going to take some water and then just a little bit of acrylic paint and mix that up. There we go. And then I add soap to it. I can't remember what tutorial it was, but I remember someone else doing like either a diorama or something and being like, yeah, add soap to it. For some reason, I don't know the reason, so we're just going to add a little bit and stir it up.
From there, it's loading up the brush as much as possible and trying to get it into all the individual cracks as much as possible, and then wiping away the excess. This step's way more stressful than the next one just because I'm so afraid that I'm accidentally going to make it way too dark. For the highlights, we're going to be dry brushing it on, which means that we just get a little bit of paint on the brush and then try and wipe most of the excess off, and then very lightly brush over the highlights. If I'm being completely honest, realistic stone is my favorite thing to paint just because it's the only thing I can do reliably with this method. Okay, I've been delaying putting on the windows up to this point because I genuinely couldn't decide if I wanted a landscape in the back or if I wanted it just to be a blank. As pretty as a landscape would be, I felt like it was too distracting away from the main focus. I feel like the dark shadows were the best move.
Alright, there's just one more thing that I want to do before we can call this DM screen complete. And this step is personally my favorite because it's really going to make it feel the most lived in and ancient. And that is going to be adding just an ungodly amount of moss. The ultimate tool of whimsy. Craft moss. With a ton of vines and moss, it's not only going to tie everything together, but also bring a little bit more color to it, because right now it truly is just gray and this one red stone in the middle. All right, I'm going to get started working on this last step that will go into the final reveal.
honestly such a fine line between moss and mold. I am very dangerously going towards that line.
Okay, if I'm being completely honest, I think I liked it better before the moss, but I can't go back now. It's still going to look cool. Oh well, the final reveal time.
What I really love about this DM screen is I think it actually is a really good mix of something that's aesthetic and whimsical, but also something practical that you can use in interesting ways. Being able to use it for general ambiance or something more practical like visuals of monsters, puzzles, or maps. Keep track of initiative, or if you really want to help keep your players' attention, a Subway Surfer. Although personally, I am also a fan of the Minecraft parkour.
I was kind of joking about it in the beginning, but this genuinely does make me really excited to at least try DMing at least another one-shot, to give it another try, and see how I can use this to help tell a story to my friends. Let me know, is this something that you would find genuinely useful to have at your table, or is it kind of more just a gimmick? Either way, you can't deny the fact that there's not many DM screens out there, where you can literally just watch Shrek 2 at your table.
Congratulations! You made it to the end of the video, which means that you are the perfect candidate to watch these other two nerdy RPG videos that I made! I'm extremely proud of them, and if you like this video, you will like them too. And of course, thank you to my lovely Patreons for supporting me and helping me keep on making these silly little crafting videos.